Moon Knight. Let's go. Moon Knight was great. Moon Knight is awesome, bro. So good to have like Moon Knight, the ending, Moon Knight ending one day, and then immediately afterwards, Doctor Strange. Moon Knight was so good though. The best thing, right, to come out of it was Oscar Isaac. His performance. That was just god level acting right there, man. So good. The switches between Steven, and Mark. I forgot his name. Mark. Steven and Mark, right? Those constant switches, just like turning a switch, bro. Like he's so good. So talented. It was difficult. Yeah, it was really trippy. But I loved it because of that. Really trippy moments. Oscar Isaac performance just like takes it to a whole nother level. So freaking good. From the very first episode, I feel like out of all the series, Moon Knight has like the strongest, if not one of the strongest first episodes, right? As far as like an introduction to the character, right? Steven, like we're introduced to Steven. He's a dork. He's just going about it. He has no friends. He's just like, he has like a rinky dink job, nothing really going for him, no love life. And he's on top of that, he's something's going on, right? Something in regards to like his mental is going on. We don't know, right? And the first episode just like does a perfect job of laying that out for us, right? Like Steven as a character, what he's about, what his problems are, right? And overall just setting the tone for what it's going to be like moving forward. Just the eeriness, right? That moment where he's like in that village where Harrow starts doing his thing, his conversion therapy or whatever, and they start chasing him, right? And because they're trying to get the scarab from him, and he has that blackout, and his hands covered in blood, right, bro? Chills. That just sets the tone for the rest of it. Like we get moments like that. Like episode 3 is another episode that I love. My favorite episodes were episode 3 and episode 4, right? I kind of just like group them together, but those two are so good. Episode 3 was very similar in that same regard, only that it wasn't happening to Steven. Now it was happening to Mark, right? Now we had Mark, we got the flip side. Now we had Mark constantly like having like getting into this a fight with these like Egyptian dudes. And he was constantly like being blacked out because he had Steven every other second, like every chance he got, like whether it was in a reflection or whatever, kind of telling Mark, like, Mark, don't do this. Stop. Come on, man. You don't got to kill him. And then he blacks out, right? So good. So fucking good. Man, the cinematography plays such a big role in it, bro. It's so good. It's, oh my god, and it's just like on another level. The same way that like Doctor Strange stands out because it's like it introduced horror elements that we haven't seen in any other like Marvel thing before. This Moon Knight is so good because it just does stuff that we've never seen in regards to cinematography. It's so good. Once it gets to episode 3, it just really just stands out to me because episode 3 is when like shit gets crazy, right? And the camera movement takes you on that journey, right? All of a sudden, like the first 2 episodes, like camera movement was like steady. We're in London, everything's calm, we're good, right? I mean, crazy shit's happening. We're figuring out who Moon Knight is. We have an alternate personality, fine. Good. But once we get to Egypt, holy shit, things get bonkers. And the camera movement, right? All of a sudden the camera is like much more frantic. It's like moving like very like shakily while the action scenes are going down, which by the way, the action scenes, bro, so good too. Like the choreography of the action scenes, and then on top of that, the cinematography, the camera movements, the way that the camera is capturing the action scenes, so good, so good. From that point, from episode 3, once we're in Egypt, you're just on a journey, man, and you feel it. You feel like you're just on that ride with them, and you're just like with the constant blackouts and like you're nuts. You're going nuts. You're going like you're being taken on that ride. You're just as nuts as Mark Spector, right? You're just as crazy as Stephen Grant. other examples of the cinematography just like standing out. Episode 4, when they're in the catacombs and the Heka priests come out, right? That moment with the Heka priest is so good. It's so good because really, if you think about it, it could have been something very corny. It could have been something very hokey. It could have been something that like just didn't have that much of an impact, right? But because of the way they played with the camera, right? They left the Heka priest out of focus, right? Until like the very end. They constantly like they like purposely left him hidden, right? Why? To increase that like that suspense, that like the fear factor, right? If you what's the scariest thing? The boogeyman, because you have no idea what he looks like, right? He's under your bed. You don't know. He's in the closet. You don't know. The fear of the unknown, right? And that's what the camera did. The camera work did such a good job with that. And it could have been nothing. It could have been a nothing moment because like the Heka priests, they show up for that one episode and that's it. They show up for that one episode, for that one moment, right? And that's it. Never again, right? But because of the way that it was shot and done, it stands out so much. It's so good. Later on, when they're chasing Layla, and she's kind of like on the ridge of something, and like she gets pulled in right into like a dark like crevice between the rocks, and then like we get a good like 5 seconds of like silence, kind of just like leaving us to think like, holy shit, what is she dead? Did it kill her? Like what? Is she dead? What's going on? So good. Oh, they did such a good job with that, bro. So good. I love it. The very last episode, a beautiful shot. You know, they're coming up, Moon Knight, Harrow, and like the cameras, they're running up. Moon Knight's running up the pyramid. Harrow's running down the pyramid. The camera's spinning, and then Moon Knight just gives him a good knee right to the chin. Right. So good. So many good moments with like the camera work. Even the final like fight at the end between Moon Knight and Harrow, right? Some really good moments with the camera where like it just like follows the action and just constantly moving. It's just so good. Music added to that as well, like the constant like Egyptian music was so good. You know, just puts us in the setting, in the moment, right, of what they're trying to portray. Cinematography on point, acting on point. Not only Oscar Isaac, Layla, right, played by May Kalamaui. Sorry for butchering your name. She was really good as well. The voice performance for Khonshu, right, by F. Murray Abraham. So good, bro. From the very first moment where like you hear Khonshu and it's like that voice is so good, bro. So good. Even the hippo. I like the hippo. Taweret. Yeah. Like from like the end of episode 4 where she just shows up and she's like, hi. It's so good. It's just like such like a sweet little voice coming out of like this giant like hippo monster. What the heck? So good. It looks great. Overall, it had its own look, and like even like the visual effects, right? A lot of the visual effects looked good. It looked so good. As far as like comparing it, putting it, you could even put it on the same level as the movies, really. But if you're just comparing like Marvel series, bro, I think I gotta say it's like it was the best. I don't know. There were some moments in Loki that kind of like took me out of it. Wanda didn't really have like that many like visual moments. I think maybe the last part where they fight. But I don't know. This like Moon Knight, just like it just looks so good, man. The suit, right? Moon Knight suit, in general looks so good. I will say the last episode kind of took me out of it a little bit in terms of visual effects, right? The moment where Mark and Steven come back to life and like the suit comes over them. That part seemed a little strange to me. It looked a little off. And then also just Amit. I didn't really like the way she looked, like just giant crocodile monster lady goddess thing. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. I like the hippo. I love Khonshu. Khonshu is sick. His design is so cool. But I didn't like Ami. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't feeling it so much. It was little things here and there. Overall, the visual effects were great, fantastic, and unique, right? Even Mr. Knight, right? With his when Steven transformed and gets like his dapper suit all white, right? The glowing eyes. Glowing eyes look so good, bro. But I prefer the Moon Knight, right? Something about the bandages. I like the bandages like really seem badass to me. I like that suit a lot. So with all these good things to say, you would think, I love it. There's absolutely nothing bad to say. Wrong. Here's the thing, right? So, and I came up with this metaphor. Follow me. Check me out. Hear me out. All right. Marvel, MCU as a whole. Grape juice, right? Grape juice. It's delicious. It's great. It's sugary. It's purple. What more can you ask for? It's purple. We've been drinking grape juice for the past. When did Iron Man come out? 20 years? How long has the MCU been going on? 20 years? 10 years? 10 years, right? Something like 10 years, whatever. However long it's been running, right? We've been drinking grape juice all this time, right? Because, of course, all these movies, they kind of follow a set like formula in a sense. And we've all been feeling it at this point, right? Any like Marvel fan will tell you they kind of like, or even people, there's a lot of people that have enjoyed the movies up until like a certain point, getting to the point where it's kind of getting a little stale for them, right? They're kind of getting a little sick of grape juice. Moon Knight comes into play. We see a purple drink. We think, hey, that's got to be grape juice. It's got to be good. We go, take a sip. Holy shit, what the fuck is that? That's not grape juice. That's wine. And it's good. It's good wine. I'm getting drunk. So we start drinking wine. Episode 1. Episode 2. More wine. Episode 3. The wine gets better. Higher quality wine. It's from the finest vineyards in Italy, right? Episode 4. Episode 5. This wine, it's as if Jesus himself created it. Episode 6. We grab that glass, go to take a sip. What do we expect? That wine, that delicious wine that we've been drinking for the past 5 episodes. So good, so sweet. What do we get? Grape juice. No. Fuck. That's my metaphor. So, yeah. So that's the issue for me with Moon Knight, right? The fact that it does stand out a lot, right? It is very different from a lot of the things. And I praise this, right? Because there were like comments beforehand by Feige himself saying that this is different. This is different from anything that's came out. And I kind of just like, you hear a lot of that. They just say that stuff to kind of like hype up the show or the movie or whatever. Oh, it's different. It's great. You're going to love it. Whatever. I didn't think too much of it. But once you start watching it, you realize like, holy shit, this is different. Look, right? This is definitely different. And then the last episode just like brings it back to you're on cloud 9, and the last episode just kind of brings you back to earth, right? Where you just have that kind of like typical Marvel formulaic final act where there's big fight between the good guy and the bad guy, right? And I feel like it didn't need that, right? It wasn't bad. Like I said earlier, the choreography for that fight, for the action sequences, are great. But here's the thing. When you set something up, right? When you're setting something up to be so different, so unique, right? You're expecting that all the way through, right? To the very end, right? So for it to kind of, it feels like a bait and switch almost, right? For it at the very end to kind of switch up, or for it at the very end to go back to that just like typical formulaic Marvel good guy versus bad guy, lasers, powers, whatever, going all over the place. It's not bad because it's grape juice. Grape juice is good. We love grape juice. It's purple, but we miss wine. We miss the wine. Yeah, gotta tell the truth. ultimately I feel like at the end of the day, it didn't need that, right? It didn't need like that kind of like, or at least it didn't need it the way that it happened, right? It didn't need that like final like Harrow versus Moon Knight, like hand to hand combat, right? I feel like it could have been done differently and better, especially when you consider like the endings to like some of the other stuff that's come out recently. Um, I mean, I was thinking of WandaVision in particular, right? I feel like WandaVision gets like a lot of slack for its ending because of the way it kind of because a lot of people get hung up on the fact of like the what they did with Pietro and you know revealing Ralph Boner and yeah. I think a lot of people get hung up on that and they don't realize like how genius the actual resolution to like the altercations between Vision, right? Vision versus White Vision and Wanda versus Agatha is. The Vision stuff is genius because it matches perfectly with like the type of character that he is, right? As strong as he is, right? As strong as that character is, they stop, right? Uh, Vision is not only strong but also like intellectually like on another level, right? So they were beating each other up for a bit. They were like wailing on each other, sure, shooting their laser beams and such. But then it gets to the point where like, no, we're not going to hit each other anymore. We're going to battle with our minds, right? And they start having this like debate about like what's real, what's not real. The ship of Theseus, what the fuck? It's perfect. It matched perfectly with the character of Vision and who he is, right? It was genius. It was a genius way to end that altercation. And then Wanda versus Agatha is great because Wanda outsmarts her, right? Wanda takes this like little thing that's mentioned in the previous episode, something that like nobody picked up on or nobody would have picked up on otherwise. And she uses that to her advantage. She's setting up the runes all around the hex. She screws over Agatha. Genius. I love it. That's a satisfying ending to me, all like a real like like kind of like hand to hand like combat fight. I feel like nowadays, or at least for me personally, I guess for my taste, it's kind of hard to be satisfying because unless it's very visually appealing, right? Endgame, Thanos versus everyone, Thanos versus the world. That works, right? Cap going blow with Thanos, Iron Man, Thor, all going hand to hand. That shit works, right? Because you see it's like it's so visually appealing. And then you got like the armies come in and everyone's at it and it's a giant war. That's cool. That's awesome, right? An old man with a cane fighting like this souped up dude with like a suit that doesn't allow him to get hurt, essentially. I don't know. That's the thing too. Like Mark, right? Mark and Steven like get this cool ass suit and it gives them all these powers. It makes them all badass. And what did Harrow get? He just got like his cane just like changed and he was able to shoot laser beams out of it now. Like what? I don't know. I thought it was a little silly. So I feel like the ending could have been something on that level, right? Something a little bit more like something beyond just like a common like hand-to-hand struggle. And that was my like that's the kind of like where I feel it faltered for me a bit. Although overall, all the positive things that I said before stand. This series as a whole, fantastic, great. But yeah, I just wish it's kind of a common thing where like a lot of these series actually fail to stick the landing, right? It happened with the Captain America and the Winter. Oh, sorry, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It happened with Loki, unfortunately. As much as I don't want to admit it, it happened with Loki, and it even happened with WandaVision a little bit. Although, I mean, if you take out the things that don't work, I feel like WandaVision's ending is the best out of all of them. But I will admit that there are aspects of WandaVision that kind of just like left you like, eh, yeah. Grape juice. I like Hawkeye as the series. I found it to be very fun. I found it to be entertaining, right? But again, yeah, it did. The ending got a little messy with like Kingpin all of a sudden showing up there, and like they're asking us to like buy into this like very deep emotional connection between him and Echo, which they didn't do a good job of establishing. Yeah, a bit messy there. They've all had their issues, so yeah, I wish it would have stuck the landing a little bit harder. But overall, great. And as far as like my rankings for the series go, unfortunately, WandaVision is still top of the list for me. WandaVision, I just love it, and I'm a romantic and I'm a sucker for love, and that's basically what it comes down to, right? But Moon Knight does come up as a close second afterwards. Moon Knight is something special. Then Loki, then Hawkeye, then What If, and Falcon and Winter Soldier at the very end. That shit was, yeah, whatever. One final note in regards to kind of like where I mentioned where I feel like there was like a kind of bait and switch at the end of episode 5, right? So Mark, Steven falls over the boat. He's stuck in the stuck in the sands, and then Mark is just Mark arrives at the fields, right? The fields of reeds. My interpretation of that was that like Mark was finally like at peace, right? He finally got to the point where he was able to kind of let Steven go, right? Because he created Steven to deal with trauma, right? To deal with something that he didn't want to, he didn't enjoy dealing with, right? I interpreted the end of episode 5 as like Mark finally coming to this at peace with himself, kind of coming to this moment where like, okay, like Steven is no more, right? But then immediately with the next episode, like he turns his back on that and he goes back to Steven, which is a nice moment. Like it was like, I won't deny that. It was nice. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just kind of one of those things where it just doesn't line up with your expectation, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just not what you expect. So it kind of, yeah, catches you off guard, rubs you off a little the wrong way. Yeah, kind of felt like a bit of a bait and switch in that regard. Because I thought the idea was kind of to like show that Mark was progressing, right, in his mental state, that he was getting better. But by him turning around and going back to Steven, it kind of felt like he was just kind of going back to it, right? Going back to what he always knew. It was kind of like his security blanket, right? And it's not a bad thing. There's actually like, it's nice, right? If you look at it from the point of view as like nobility, right? Like it was a nice, like noble moment, right? Him kind of like not leaving him out to dry like that. It was really nice. If you look at it from that perspective, that was a nice moment for sure. The after credits. Jake Lockley. That's his name, right? I hope it is. Yeah, they left like little clues throughout the series that something was going on there. There was someone else inside of there, right? As early as episode 3. So episode 3, Mark is having his blackouts, and there's one moment where he blacks out and he comes back and everyone's like beaten to a pulp. And he's like, Steven, what'd you do? He's like, me, I didn't do this. They were planting the seeds. Also, at the end of episode 4, when they first get to like the asylum, right? And Mark is the kind of the original one, right? What happened? How does Steven get out? Steven gets out of a sarcophagus, right? He gets him out. They reunite. They're going down the hall. They go past the door. There's another sarcophagus that is like kind of like going nuts. It's rumbling. It's Jake. It's also, you can even go as far as to presume that in the very first episode, that moment where Steven first blacks out and everyone's just just dead and just his hands covered in blood. There's blood everywhere. You can even make the argument that maybe that was him. Maybe that was Jake from the very start. Because I got to get the feeling that like, yeah, Mark was willing to kill and do his shit, but Mark kind of had morals, right, to him, where it feels like Jake is just kind of like fucked up. Jake does not give a fuck. Jake is just like cold, like, yeah, he's just willing to go all out. He doesn't give a fuck. That was really cool. The after credit scene. Yeah, to see that like Khonshu like still kind of had a card that he was hiding, right, with Jake there. And yeah. kind of interesting to see where they go with it as far as like a season 2 or a movie would be cool. But yeah, probably a series format would be the best, right? But yeah, if we could get if we could get Oscar Isaac back, playing those roles, that'd be super cool. And now you got to deal with Jake, right? Jesus, my God, really cool. Yeah, they left like a really nice teaser for what could be for the future. I also want to mention Layla's like outfit, right? That was really cool. I liked it a lot. I wonder if she'll keep that. Probably not. Speaking Spanish, yeah, the Spanish hitman. There you go. My theory. So I think here's the thing. So Mark made Steven Wonder Woman vibes. Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot. Mark made Steven so that he could kind of continue life believing that like he had a good relationship with his mom, right? But so here's the weird part with that one scene where like they finally go up to the room and like they show Jake as a kid. He goes into the room. His mom starts banging on the door, which by the way, that shit was horrifying, bro. That shit's horrible. Fuck. Yeah, I feel bad for like anybody who really has to go through that kind of shit. And fuck the dad. That dad's an asshole. Jeez, what the hell? He knew the mom was fucked up. He shouldn't. Why would he let his kid go through that? That's fucked up. Bad dad. Anyway, so the mom's banging on the door, and then that's like, I guess, the first time where Steven comes to life, right? But here's the thing. And then the mom comes in, she grabs the bell, and I guess she unleashes the wrath of God upon him. Here's the thing. Steven doesn't remember that either, right? So I feel like Jake is the one that took all the beatings. Jake is the one, like, whenever, like, something like, I imagine he got beat more than once. So whenever that happened, Mark checked out and Steven checked out, and Jake was the one that took all the beatings, and now that's why Jake is the way that he is. He's just, like, ruthless and doesn't give a fuck. La chancla, hijo. Yeah, I was really confused about like when they started introducing the psych ward and and the mental hospital. I was really confused because at that point I didn't know what was real and I didn't know what was real. Right, in my mind, I was starting to think that like the whole psych ward thing was real and that everything that we saw beforehand was just like a dream. Right, and I kind of still had that idea at the very end, right? Because we take one like very last trip to the psych ward, and then they wake up in their bed. So I'm like, wait, was that like, did all that happen, but like not in the real world? Did all that happen on like some kind of like spiritual like plane or something like that? I don't know. Yeah, that was my initial takeaway from it. But then I like saw some other people review it and talk about it, and it seemed like what happened in the series actually happened. I think that's the common consensus. The blood on his shoes, yeah. What was that? For me, I feel like that was his penance, right? Because when Amit first comes out, like she tells him that his scales aren't balanced, and he says like, "Oh, I was hoping that like the penance that I was doing would help balance that, but I guess it didn't work." So I thought that's what the glass in the shoes was. I thought that's what that was all about. You think Mark is in limbo? Yeah, I don't know. Weird. I guess we won't get a confirmation until like something else comes out. Maybe that's like one of those kinds of things where they just left it up in the air for like the person to interpret. Maybe. Okay, I'm done.